Elmo can't save them. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, usually when you show up on Capitol Hill to testify before Congress about an agency that is under scrutiny and under your management or your supervision, you take the time to prepare. So you're ready to defend your agency's record and your own. But yesterday, when questioned by the House Oversight and Government Reform Subcommittee, Catherine Maher, the CEO of NPR, took a different approach.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted.
First of all, Brandon Gill is a future superstar, like 28 years old. But this testimony was simply jaw-dropping. The woman claimed she took time off from work to read a pro-reparations book that she now conveniently says she can't remember ever reading. Oh, definitely want to put her in charge of an important agency. But in her defense, she seems to have trouble with the truth, meaning the very nature of what truth is.
The idea of the truth is it's complicated. It's evolutionary. It's unstable. Truth, by definition, is malleable. It changes and is changing.
Oh, this is what passes as a keen and searing intellect in elite Washington circles. But it's just another reminder that it's time to act on what conservatives have been railing about for years, the continued federal funding of NPR and its sister television network, PBS. Because Maher and her defenders of NPR, can't honestly claim that its news programming is balanced, they fall back on the argument that the network gets only a tiny fraction of its $300 million budget from the taxpayers. Well, my response to that is, who cares? NPR shouldn't get a dime from the taxpayers, certainly not for any news gathering or news or commentary operations. Look, we have plenty of news outlets in America, including Fox News, CNN, all these others. We don't need to spend taxpayer dollars for another one that is reliably just an arm of the Democrat Party.
You believe your reporters are fair? You said they're fair and they're working at it.
I believe that they work to be every day, sir.
The recent registration, when it was looked at, 87 Democrats and 0 Republicans registered.
I found that very concerning.
It shouldn't be surprising when their own CEO says things like, I'm so done with late-stage capitalism, or calls the President of the United States a deranged racist sociopath, or that America's addicted to white supremacy. I understand why Democrats on this committee are going to viciously and vehemently defend you all, because you become a propaganda wing of the Democratic Party.
No answer for that. And while PBS's defenders try to shut down criticism by hiding behind Elmo and Sesame Street and all of our old nostalgic views of the 70s and what it was like back then, or 80s when you were a kid, they can't chase the clouds of bias away. On the news side, PBS, which gets about 16% of its funds from the federal government, is just as loony left as NPR. The Media Research Center found that their commentary during the RNC was 72% negative and only 28% positive. But of course, their coverage of Kamala's coronation at the DNC was essentially flipped. 88% positive, and only 12% negative. Oh, that must be an anomaly. Come on. Except it's not. An 18-month analysis of PBS NewsHour stories found they used the description extreme right 162 times, but only used extreme left 6 times. Look, it's simply indefensible. They know it, we know it. Now, sure, there are some interesting and decent and very fine educational programs on public television, and absolutely. And we love the Memorial Day concert at the Capitol, and even though Ken Burns is a pretty big liberal, his documentaries are riveting. But what we have right now is the use of taxpayer dollars for a partisan political operation, and that, my friends, is just wicked. Now, it would be terrific if we as a country could have a nonpartisan broadcast network, but apparently we can't do that. So going back to the Reagan years, Republicans have been complaining about this and demanding changes. But NPR and PBS's response, well, sometimes they'll say, oh, we'll do better. It's they've basically just been flipping us the big bird. They could have rooted out the bias in their news and commentary offerings, but instead they just dug their heels in. Catherine Maher's testimony was an insult to every tax-paying American. Taking their money, the money of hardworking Americans, no matter how much, to promote a hard left agenda that the voters have overwhelmingly rejected time after time, is a gross abuse of the public trust. Elmo can't save them, and Mr. Rogers doesn't live there anymore. And that's the angle.
What were you doing last night at 3 o'clock in the morning? Probably sleeping, or at least you were in bed, like most of us. Bondi and Cash were icing MS-13.
First reaction is all of our law enforcement officers are safe. That was the number one thing. They're safe. They executed a clean, safe operation, and the bad guys in custody. And thanks to the FBI, we got one of the worst of MS-13 off the streets this morning.
We were able to be out here in force to show the American people, to be here in person, that this means a lot to her and the mission and securing American communities. And that's what we're doing. That's why we're here. We're supporting our guys and gals on the ground. But we also want to know and inform America that safety is our primary concern of these communities, and we effectuated that today.
Henry Santos, the top MS-13 gangster on the East Coast, got tossed in a paddy wagon and is being held on gun charges. The feds found a fully loaded Glock next to his bed in a townhouse in Virginia.
This guy was living in a neighborhood right around you. No longer. Arrests have increased 468% from the same period last year. We didn't need new laws, as President Trump always said. We needed a new president. And we have great leadership standing behind him to fight to keep America safe and make America safe again.
Santos was collared by a joint agency task force, DOJ, FBI, ATF, and ICE. And the task force already picked up hundreds of bad hombres. The governor of Virginia says they could have arrested this guy years ago, but Biden wouldn't lift a finger.
I just want to emphasize the pace and the focus. And so, no, these were not lists that were available in the previous administration because they wouldn't do that. And the minute that we had partners that would do this with us, then lists of 500, 600, 700 targets could be put together in collaboration with state police and federal authorities and our Department of Corrections. Critically important, and I cannot emphasize enough the collaboration and support and leadership out of the new administration that is so different than what we saw in at least the previous 3 years of my administration.
Biden was letting top-level foreign gangbangers lounge around in the Virginia suburbs, living next door to lobbyists. These Latin gang leaders were a 30-minute drive from the White House.
This took place 30 miles outside of Washington, D.C., where you have politicians and mainstream media journalists who live in this city and who have derailed against the president and his crackdown on illegal immigration and on violent crime. They should be grateful that monsters like this are no longer going to be living in their communities.
By the way, look at this working mom, baby Nicholas, a.k.a. Nico. In a few years, he'll be tangling with CNN just like his mom. That's if CNN is still around. Trump's been flying guys like Santos to mega prisons in El Salvador, so we don't have to waste money and manpower prosecuting and imprisoning them. Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem was at the mega prison yesterday telling every MS-13er in America, if we catch you, this is where you're going.
I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
All these Latin gangbangers that got iced are going to get handcuffed, have their heads shaved, and get a one-way ticket to the most hardcore prison in the world. 23 hours a day, they're in a cell with 70 other men. Gutfeld might enjoy it, but most don't. No bueno. And if you don't self-deport, that's okay, because Tom Homan has a sweet tooth for deportations.
We got a lot of tools in the toolbox. El Salvador prison's one. We got Gitmo. We got other countries. So for those countries who push back on taking their criminal nationals back, we'll send them to another country. We got a lot of tools in this toolbox. Again, President Trump's a game changer. We got illegal immigration on board down 96% because of the policies of the Trump administration. I wake up every day like a kid in the candy shop getting ready to go to work.
Trump calling Homan a superstar. So Jose can skedaddle, or Homan's going to treat him like a Skittle and taste the rainbow. And any caravans thinking of coming, as Joe Biden says, don't.
If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country.
That's common sense conservatism. Can't argue with that. Democrats tried to make it complicated, but it's not. Don't break into our country, and if you do, we're kicking you out. Instead of changing diapers and making sandwiches, Border Patrol's patrolling the border, and police aren't being defunded. They're doing what they're good at, and they're getting a pat on the back.
This is what happens when you let good cops be cops, and we're going to continue to let good cops be cops across this country. This is not possible without the folks that do the job every single day. And as director of the FBI, it is a privilege to lead some of these brave men and women. The next time you see a cop, thank them. The next time you see someone safeguarding our schools, shake their hand. The next time you see our brave men and women of the FBI and the local and federal state police take down a violent terrorist, maybe give him a hug. We will not stop until this national security crisis is recognized, brought into check, and eliminated.
But it's not all about the grind. Got to have that work-life balance. Just before Cash was icing gangs, he was on the ice. Look at him. Just 48 hours ago, he was playing ice hockey. And since it's DEI Thursday, we can't ignore the fact that Cash is the first ever Indian hockey player. Another first for the Trump administration. The whole cabinet's on a mission, and they've known their orders since day one.
When the president asked me to do this job, he's told me two things up front, amongst many. He said, first, he said, Pete, you're going to have to be tough as
No one's born tough, not even me. Toughness is forged through discipline and resilience. But America let DEI sap our strength. When you start putting tough guys at the top, the morale just trickles down.
You are at the front of the formation. I don't have to tell you that. You know that. You're living in history. You're living in reality. You're living in a dangerous neighborhood. You are America's power projection platform. The American people rely on you. I rely on you. Admiral Paparo relies on you. The Commander-in-Chief relies on you. As you step forward and say, we're not here to start war, but we're going to be strong so that we are able to deter war. And I see young men and young women willing to answer the exact same call.
Yesterday, the vice president showed up to Quantico and had lunch in the mess hall right before he fired some rounds off with the boys and gave them a little pep talk.
We care about excellence and we care about patriotism. And if you are awesome and you are a patriotic Marine, then we are going to do everything that we can to make you the most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. And that is what we're doing every single day. No more quotas, no more ridiculous mumbo jumbo, no more diversity training. We believe the real strength and the real diversity in the United States Marine Corps is that you all come from every walk of life, come from every corner of America, and you have got the strength and the purpose to win the nation's wars, and that is what the Marine Corps is going to do, just like it's done for damn near 250 years.
Guys like JD get it. Biden dozed soldiers for not getting vaxxed and let those precious warriors walk. Now we're recruiting, we're killing terrorists and icing cartels. And all the media wants to talk about is a group chat.
Do you believe that a mistake was made here, though?
Caitlin, as I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I wasn't part of it. And, I'm not going to speculate more than what the president's already talked about and those who've been involved have talked about. But we'd love to talk about the veterans.
Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Caitlin, since you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA, I have a question as VA Secretary. As Cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Caitlin. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans?
This is about the forgotten men and women, the war fighters who got sidelined, the cops who got defunded, the auto worker whose job went global. The golden age is for everybody.
To hear an announcement like this that's going to force the auto companies to build their assembly plants in the United States instead of right across the border in Mexico is music to our ears. And we are so happy that President Trump is doing what he promised to do during his campaign, and that's to put heavy tariffs on these countries that are shipping vehicles back into the United States.
We're looking to make things in America again. And if you're not growing, you're dying. That's why Trump's looking over the horizon.
We need Greenland for national security and international security. So I think we'll go as far as we have to go. We need Greenland. And the world needs us to have Greenland, including Denmark.
JD will be in Greenland tomorrow with his wife, Usha. Just a casual date night in Greenland. Maybe talk about real estate over dinner. You see anything you like, honey? Trump's setting high expectations for the country and for his cabinet. Everyone's working hard and showing their work. Here's Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, a.k.a. the Ice Maiden.
If you are in Trump world, you are hyper competitive. You want to win. You want people to think what you think and believe what you believe and mold the country in the way you think best for us, but also for our kids and our grandkids. And so I think that's what kind of keeps me in it. That's what got me in it. That's what keeps me in it. And so I may be quietly competitive.
Despite the media's theatrical hysteria over Signalgate, America seems way more interested in stuff that's actually happening that's making their lives better. Because by any metric, like, say, number of Houthi rebels without heads, Donald Trump is killing it. And when I say killing it, I include the media. Because Trump is paying about as much attention to them as he is to that text I sent him at 4 a.m. last night. Guess I shaved my back for nothing. So while the Dems cream in their culottes, here was Trump's heavily prepared response.
We've pretty much looked into it. It's pretty simple, to be honest. It's not, it's just something that can happen. It can happen, you can even prepare for it. It can happen. Sometimes people are hooked in and you don't know they're hooked in. It's not a perfect technology. There is no perfect technology.
See? That's the real story, but without the layers of theater that the media applies to it. Because if you think the actual story is huge, you must think Dana Perino shops at Lane Bryant. This is not a national security story, it's a media story, because the legacy media can't lay a finger on this guy. They can't dirty him up like last time, because Trump has rendered them irrelevant. They can't manifest a scandal anymore when more people are watching A-Team reruns than CNN. While the White House press corps were wetting themselves over Signal, Trump's actually out there getting done that affects our lives. Bringing factories back, arresting illegals, keeping Leah Thomas's dong out of women's swimming. Yes. Here's Trump at a Women's Day event actually having the nerve to say out loud what so-called feminists kept to themselves.
On day one, I made the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman.
Well, I guess that means I bought that lacy sports bra for nothing. Trump also signed an executive order to protect our elections from illegals voting and mysterious dumps of thousands of ballots after the deadline. So from now on, if a state takes a month to count their ballots, it'll be because they hired women.
A sexist would say.
Terrible. Then Trump decided to hit reset on global trade, which means soon I won't be able to throw hot coffee at my riders without hitting a Kia factory. Trump also declassified all documents relative to the bogus Crossfire hurricane investigation. So the chickens are coming home to roost. No wonder egg prices are coming down. So in mere weeks, Trump's done more than Biden did in his lifetime. Granted, it was considered a good day if Joe could locate the hole for the straw in his juice box. But Trump's never been so popular, and that's because he's a man of action, not a man of traction. Which is why the media is constantly playing catch-up. They literally can't keep up with him. When he's working on ceasefires in Ukraine, they're still pining over deported criminals. So as the Democrat media complex sinks, they look to the Signal story as a life preserver. And they're going to beat it to death like Jasmine Crockett does to basic grammar. But it's this same tunnel vision that has them less relevant than an exercise segment on The View. You can manufacture all the outrage you want, but it's a big circle jerk, and they're the jerks. Their concerns no longer mirror America's. That's because they were supposed to inform us, not try to control us. What the lefty media refuses to mention? That the operation was a total success. Hell, it was only by accident that this story fell into their laps anyway. And who hasn't added the wrong person to a group text? That's how I got that picture of Matt Lauer's penis. But it showed what the Dems are incapable of, decisive action. Instead, they endlessly prattle over process. Hell, way back when, even Obama had the stones to hit bin Laden. And remember who told him not to do it? Yep, Biden. Obama gave him a glass of milk and told him to sit down, which is a terrible combination. Raymore and Flanagan had to replace the soiled chair. But this week is a great reminder of how the media only goes to work when it's about Republicans. Remember the fake laptop story, Crossfire hurricane, COVID's origins, or the fact that Joe wasn't running the country? Those were real scandals, but these hacks were as quiet as a drunk peeing on a furry toilet seat cover. The Dems launched a coup and censored Americans, and the media yawned like they were watching Fox and Friends. They're not up. So look for the media to do all it can to keep this on life support. But really, it's their own irrelevant jobs they're trying to preserve. So don't toss them a lifeline. Let them sink. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She's the reason bottom shelves were invented. Co-host of America's Newsroom and The Five, Dana Burrito. His version of a Reuben sandwich involves two guys he met at the gym. Host of the Reuben Report, Dave Rubin. He shaved his beard, but still looks weird. Writer and comedian Joe DeVito. And her fans went from MTV to AARP. Host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. Dana, I packed a lot of stuff in here because a lot of stuff happened this week. I want to ask you, unless you want to talk about Signal, but I find that what Trump said at that Women's Day thing, no one could have said 6 months ago or a year ago. You can't be a woman. Too bad.
Right.
No response. No media outraged. You don't see.
That's true. And because, wow, that is true. And I'm so grateful he said it because it's one of these things that I think about when you think of Billie Jean King, for example, right? So she does the Battle of the Sexes. Okay, she makes a gazillion dollars. She writes books. She has TV contracts. She's got everything going for her, and she will not say what he just said.
Right.
Because she's afraid of what?
Exactly. What is she afraid of?
I don't know if she's afraid of being canceled. I don't know if she agrees. I don't know, but really only Martina Navratilova is one of the only very successful women athletes that's been willing to say anything. And the other thing is, it's interesting, is that President Trump is providing air cover for all sorts of things. And one of them is for the moms and dads of girls who cannot believe this is happening. And sometimes you'll have somebody on our show, on the 5, say, well, but for college, maybe not. But for younger, no.
Yeah.
Do you know how much bigger men are, or boys are, than girls in junior high and high school? And the young woman who was at the First Lady's box at the President's Joint Session of Congress, she's the one, she got hit in the head with the volleyball in high school. And her dreams changed, and her scholarship opportunities changed, and her life changed because of that. Yeah. So I give President Trump a lot of credit for that, and I know that's not very funny. But I am grateful that he does, because I think that a lot of liberals would like to sweep this under the rug, and he's not going to let them do that.
Exactly. Well put, Dana. You know, Dave.
Yes, Greg.
I find it insulting how the media expects us to forget about all the big stories they covered up when they start screaming about something like Signal, like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to listen to you. You. You know what I mean? Seriously, I have no patience.
No, and the whole thing, we've all done that. We've all been in a group chat or texted someone and added the wrong name. That chat that we have, the one with Lou Dobbs and Bill O'Reilly.
Yes.
Where you sent your ass and then you said, no, that wasn't supposed to go to Bill. And
yeah.
There was that thing. Yes, the whole Biden administration was 4 years of a man with dementia and a woman who was hired because she was black and a woman who pulled a soft coup on them. Everything about the administration was a scandal. I would add on the Women's History Month thing that I did consult with Grok before the show because I was preparing for this segment. And it turns out that boys have penises and girls have vaginas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that little science class, Dave. Kennedy, so much was covered in that fantastic monologue I just did.
It was really wonderful, Greg.
It really was wonderful.
They give out awards for those.
Yeah, yes, they do.
I really think you should dust off some shelf space.
Do you know what's funny? You know what's funny? The press is covering a poll on how Americans feel about the Signal story, and they think it's a big deal because they just were told it was a big deal. By the press.
By them, yes. So it's circular logic.
Yeah.
And the problem is that people see through it because there's so many other places to get your news. You know, the New York Times is operating as though you have to wait for the hard copy of the New York Times to understand anything that has gone on in the world from the night before, and that's not exactly true. They're operating as though there are only 3 broadcast networks, and they have the nightly news at 6 p.m., and that's when you tune in. That is not the case. But what they're also trying to do, which I've been very resentful of, is every time there's a story from the other side, the team that they would love to cancel, they try and convince you it is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Like the Signal glitch, that is January 6th was horrible, but it's worse than that.
Yes, it's whatever is most recent is the worst.
Yeah, so Maxine Watters, you know, it's like the Border Patrol agents who were not whipping Haitian immigrants, she had the nard sack to say it was empty because she is a woman.
Yeah.
But she had a satchel to say that it was worse than slavery.
Yes.
Which is so incredibly offensive. So, you know, that's what they're trying to do. It is an absolute scam, but people have seen through it. And that's why even though they tell us, like, you know, this is awful, they're the worst, they're all incompetent, everyone on that Signal chat needs to resign, and then CNN has to point out,
these are the highest ratings we've ever seen for people saying the country is on the right track.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe they don't want everyone to resign.
Yeah. Joe, you're having a rough time during Women's History Month because you hate women.
Yes. Yeah. I think Trump's right what he said, that you could pump me through whatever kind of chemicals you want. I'll still never be a man.
Yeah.
I think it's so ironic that this supposed scandal is over something called Signal, because the only signal we were getting from Joe Biden is when his monitor went. Nobody cares, but I'll say this: if it happens again, Jeffrey Goldberg's out of the chat.
Yeah.
He's got to leave if it happens again. So yeah, it just shows you that, like you said, they try to manufacture these things, but we're not falling for it anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to. I mean, look, it's a little embarrassing, but there was no sensitive information that was revealed, and there's too many other important things going on, and we're not going to fall for this stuff anymore.
Yeah, and there were no options for Hegseth at that time. If something is time sensitive, 2 hours, you're going to go bomb a place, you need to tell all 12 people or whatever. It's like, hey, you good? You can't get everybody in a room. You can't get on a phone and call each one. You go, hey, we got there. I still question how that guy, whatever,
Goldberg,
the wrestler, what he was doing there. How'd he get on? Was he already on the phone? Was he a friend of Walt's? I know.
Okay, but why wasn't Jeffrey Goldberg worried that there were other people, other bad actors on that chat? If he was so concerned that this was compromising national security as an American citizen, why didn't he stand up and say, hey, you guys, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm here. Stop what you're doing right now, because if I'm here, that means other people could be here, and that could be putting American lives at risk.
Yeah.
Screw that guy for not.
Before we go, come see me on tour with Shalou. I'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Highland Heights, Kentucky, and Jacksonville, Florida. Go to ggutfeld.com for tickets.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.